night, everybody, and welcome to a hostless episode of the BedTime Podcast, hosted by the sidekick, Ryan McCarthy. Now, I know what you're wondering. Why the hell would I listen to a sidekick? And the answer to that is, the meaning is arbitrary. Jimmy's on duty right now in the U.S. Army. I can't say where he's stationed, but it rhymes with Mazik's man. Don't decipher that, please. But I'm your host, Ryan McCarthy, tonight for episode 2 of the BedTime Podcast. Now, today I'll be illustrating, and as an art student and an intellectual, just like James himself, I will be drawing The Scream by Edvard Munch, or at least my interpretation of it. You'll notice that I'm going to add a lot more detail than Edvard did. That's because I'm a better artist. But anyways, let's get started now. The subject of today's podcast is going to be one of contention, as I will be ranking my 3 different categories of favorite pizza, I will be doing frozen pizza, regular pizza chains across the United States, and finally Chicago-centered pizza chains, ones where you can only find them in the Chicago greater metropolitan. Or is that the same thing as metropolitan? Anyways, let's get into it. Let's start off with an easy one. Let's do frozen pizzas. Now, number 1, I would like to state that this entire list is not about cost effectiveness. These pizzas, I'm going to be ranking them on how much I enjoy eating them without thinking about what I paid for them, which is tough at times. But yes, it's going to be factored solely on cuisine. And with that, the number 1, you know what, let's start from the bottom, because I want to get fancy. Number 6, the lowest frozen pizza. Keep in mind, this isn't a bad thing, but it's regular Jack's pizzas. Now, a lot of people love Jack's because it's very cheap, and if you're buying a frozen pizza, you might as well get something that's good. It's not bad at all. It's very thin though. It's almost like it's a cracker crust. I'm more of a fan of the fluffier side of pizza crust, but that's because I'm a connoisseur of the art, just like I am with this Edvard Munch painting. Now, I've started on the man's head, as you can hear. I'm going to add just a fine detail here. That's good. Yeah, that's the side of his head right on those brush strokes. And now I'm going to add the arms as well. I'll keep you updated on the painting in between the rankings, but let's go to number 5. Another good frozen pizza. It's just low because of how great the competitors are. Red Baron pizzas. Now, save your outrage for the comment section because I don't read that shit. Just kidding. I check in on these very regularly. But Red Baron pizzas are fantastic bang for your buck pizzas. They're usually about $3.50 where I am. I'm not sure how that varies across the world or, states, as we do have international listeners out there. Red Baron's fantastic. It's a little bit thicker of a crust than Jack's. Not getting too thick, but it's a solid choice if you need something to eat tonight and you're at the grocery store and you don't want to spend too much. For $3.50, that's half the price of a couponed Domino's pizza. That's a good deal for a moderately large size pizza. Excellent for 1 to 2 people, maybe 3. Around 4 people, you're starting to get maybe 1 slice each. Not 1 slice each, 2 slices each, but isn't a bad thing. And, it's all subjective anyways. Right now, I'm adding the hands on the side of Edvard's face. That's fantastic. They're going down to his midsection. I say Edvard's face for the title character doing the screaming. That's because, as my interpretation, it is Edvard Munch on the Oslo Bridge when he saw a sunset and had a momentary existential crisis on that bridge. Now, that's how I see it. I believe Edvard Munch has talked about the background to a Scream before, but Right now, I'm not sure. I'm just going to keep going with the list, though. We'll get more background on the artwork in a short while. Number 4, Tombstone pizzas. Another fantastic choice. Tombstone is excellent. A very well done 3-cheese pizza. I believe they have cheddar. Is it cheddar? Mozzarella, cheddar, and maybe provolone. I could be wrong, but I believe those are the 3. Not bad choices at all. Tombstone's excellent. It's got great crust. A little bit thinner than Red Baron's, but that's not a bad thing at all. It evens it all out very well. Great sauce on Tombstone's as well. For frozen pizza, any of these 3 so far, you're doing a good job. Now, number 3 is the Home Run Inn frozen pizzas. It's okay. It's doing well. It's got that. It's not as good as Home Run Inn franchises, but you can't expect the same thing. It does nothing wrong. That's the thing. The sauce is fine. The cheese is fine. The crust is fine. You know what? I'm going to make an executive decision and flip Home Run Inn and Tombstone actually right now. Tombstone's going to take the 3 spot. That's because Tombstone does more than everything okay. Tombstone's crust is actually very well made, excuse me. Going on to number 2. This is going to shake some people up. Be ready to have your feathers ruffled. Rising crust Jack's pizzas. Now, that's a huge jump from bottom of the list to second to runner-up. The silver medal goes to the Rising Crust Jack's pizzas. Why is that? Quite simply, when you don't have the cracker crust, the cheese on a Jack's pizza doesn't have to be the main focus. The crust can take over. And in that endeavor, the Rising Crust Jack's pizzas just are amazing. Fantastic pizzas. I believe they're about $3.70, only 20 more than a Red Baron where I am. There is a catch to them, though. The sauce is great. The cheese is okay, but that's not important when the crust is so good. Rising Crust Jack's pizzas are, however, sparse. They're rare. You gotta search for them, or even, if you're brave, buy them online and have them shipped to you. I am not that brave at all, but more power to you if you are. I've only been able to find them at Walmart retailers. I've never been able to find a Rising Crust Jack's pizza at Target, Aldi, or, if God forbid, a Trader Joe's. It's a fantastic pizza, though. I highly recommend you try out the Rising Crust Jack's pizzas. Just the fluffiest crust possible. But anyways, number 1 is going to go to an obvious one. It's not delivery. It's a flippin' gold medal pizza. It's DiGiorno. DiGiorno is the best frozen pizza to eat, in my opinion. I love the Rising Crust. The cheese is fantastic. The sauce is amazing, too. It comes so well right out of the oven. If you put your time and you really focus on this pizza when it's cooking, it can be much better than some delivered pizzas. Now, if we're doing this by cost effectiveness, I would change this up a lot, because DiGiorno, once you get more towards the higher toppings, and God forbid if you get the cheese-filled crust, DiGiorno's can get up to $7 or $8. Now that is absolutely crazy to do. To spend that on a frozen pizza, that's more than you could get from Papa John's, Domino's, or Pizza Hut with a coupon, or using one of the deals that you'll find on the website. It's very easy to save money on pizza franchises, and DiGiorno should be saved for special occasions like the Super Bowl or your dad's funeral. But, DiGiorno shouldn't be an every weekend thing. Save that for Jack's or Red Baron's. Changing up for cost effectiveness, from best to worst, I'd say Rising Crust Jack's, Red Baron, Tombstone, regular Jack's, DiGiorno, then Home Run Inn. Home Run Inn's just too expensive to be that okay in general. I say okay like it's a bad thing. Now, with this painting, I'm adding the railing to the back right now. You can hear I'm going to drag the pencil across just slowly, because this balcony railing goes across the man's body. And it's going to be interrupted here, and I'll tell you when it's going to be interrupted. You're going to hear it. Oh. And there we go. That is fantastic brushwork by your sidekick host of the evening. If I do say so myself, this is the best creation I've ever made and probably ever will. My future daughter will not like that sentence, but you know what? It's going to be a couple of years before she can interpret it. Anyways, let's move on with the pizza franchise rankings from the United States. Now keep in mind, this list isn't subjective at all. It's based on fact and law. And that law is my opinion. And my opinion is law in this here county because I'm a sheriff. You might not know that, but that's my side job when I'm not at college, when I'm home for the summer. At this point, I hope you're asleep because this is going to really wake people up and ruffle their feathers, let me tell you. Let's start from the bottom again. United States pizza franchise ranked from 8 to 1. These are just franchises that I've eaten at. Number 8, the worst, Sbarro. Sbarro is fucking trash. If you ever come to my residence and offer me pizza, and then you hand me a piece of fucking Sbarro, I will be ready to throw down like we're in a Canucks and Maple Leafs game. I will never accept somebody as my friend if they choose Sbarro as their favorite pizza. Sbarro is the bane of mall food courts everywhere. The crust is horribly thin, wafery. It's not even cracker crust, it's like this gross soup that had some bread put into it. And you have to find any sauce in between the bread and the fucking overloaded, disgusting cheese that they put on top. Sbarro is so bad. It's incredible how poorly they could just mess up pizza while trying to say that they're emulating Italy. Horrifying, outrageous, and honestly, it ruins my day whenever it's mentioned, so I'm going to move on with the list. Number 7 is Monocal's, or Monocle's pizza. Not bad. It's better than Fazoli's, but I don't really consider Fazoli's a pizza franchise. Monocle's is cracker crust, kind of like Fox's if you're in the Chicago area. It's not hurting anybody. It's a nice environment, but Lord, if I don't the cracker crust just doesn't do much for me, let's be honest. Cracker crust to me is you're settling for an okay pizza when it could be great if it's a fluffier crust. With that in mind, Monocle's cheese was fantastic. It's a great blend, and I couldn't say anything really bad about it. It's just cracker crust isn't for me, and I wish they had a thicker option. Maybe they do, and I'm talking out of my ass. If so, this is pretty coherent for ass talk. Let's go on to number 7. Number 6, excuse me. Cece's Pizza. Switch 7 and 6 real quick. Cece's is a pizza buffet. Those two words don't really sound like they should go together, and that's because they really shouldn't. If you like buffets in general, you're probably not too worried about germs. I, for example, have to be worried about germs because of my weak immune system, because I've never had a germ in me, because I never lose. But going on to Cece's, it's not quite a correct fit. It's better than Sbarro. The pizza itself is okay, but you have to get over the fact that people have been touching your slice all day. I don't know why I'm demonizing buffets so bad, but I just imagine everybody just going up to your food and taking one big long lick from it right before you get into that door. And once you get in that door, everybody sits down and they act normal. But man, you know in the back of your mind as you're taking a bite of that pizza that this is Cece's, and they let just about anybody lick your pizza. It's not even yours, it's communal at that point. Well, I move on. I'm going to put a tie at number 6 now. CC's, it just doesn't feel right having that at 6. Monocale's is okay at 6. There's a better option. You know what? I'm going to sub in Monocale's because it has so many Italian options and all that. It really isn't a pizza first franchise. I'm going to sub it in for Rosati's Pizza. Rosati's is alright. It's, if you use a coupon, it's more cost effective. It's good for if you're feeding a family. There are numerous franchises across the Midwest. I'm not sure about the coast, but yeah, Rosati's is fine. It's like a cheaper version of Giordano's that we'll get to later. Its sauce is good. Cheese is done. It's good cheese. The crust is done well, but it's nothing to brag home about. It's a good option for your weekends in general. But with that said, there are better options out there, but at the same time, there are much worse. Let's move on with number 5, Connie's Pizza. I'm not sure, again, of the range of Connie's Pizza. I know it's centered around Chicago-style pizza, including this faux deep dish. It's not real deep dish. Don't let them. Keep in mind, I'm not a Chicago pizza purist who demands that everything be about Chicago deep dish. I actually detest those people as they're robbing themselves of a lot of really good pizza if they'd put their, noses down for one moment. But Connie's deep dish, it just by definition isn't really deep dish. It's not like this marinara sauce drenched bowl of sauce and cheese. It's more of just a slice of cheese pizza with a high arcing crust, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, and they do it really well. Connie's is excellent. For a long time they catered to the White Sox games, and that was fantastic. Now they've been replaced with Beggar's Pizza, which I believe is more of a local brand, but I can't be too certain. If Beggar's was on here, Beggar's would have been right above Monical's and Rosati's. Not bad, but not doing anything too superb either way. Moving on. Connie's at 5. Number 4, we're getting into the large chains now. Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut again. It's okay. It has its times. They tried implementing a garlic crust, and that's gone okay. It's like a garlic buttery blend that they add to the crust. It's not really infused. It's just added on top. It's okay. It's not as good as its competitors, but for its price and with as many deals as they have when you online order, Pizza Hut's not bad at all, really. It's the crust is fine. On the outside of the pizza, the crust is fine. Towards the middle, it gets really thin. It's almost like New York style, where you have to fold the pizza over. And to be quite honest, you'll find me at my funeral, starved to death, surrounded by New York style pizza slices that I would not fold over and eat, because that's just a slap in the face to who I am as a man. You might think this is deranged, but it really isn't. Folding a slice of pizza over, you're ruining the contents of the pizza, and you're ruining the content of my life. Let's move on. Number 3. This was initially number 2, but it got bumped down for racism. Papa John's Pizza. Papa John's is really expensive. It's by far the most expensive of these options. They have some good deals, but for the most part, you really want to get Papa John's if you have a gift card for it, or if you're really good with like membership rewards points and you get the best savings. I get the text deals every Friday because that's who I am as a person, and it's fantastic. The pizza itself is really good. The quality's fantastic. The cheese is well done. They add a little pepper and garlic in the box. That's unnecessary. Don't insult me. Just make the pizza great to start with. The crust is great. It's very fluffy. High arcs as well. The sauce is well done. Nothing really goes wrong for me whenever I order a Domino's. It's on a conveyor belt, so it's hard to screw up. It's fantastic pizza. It was dropped from 2 to 3, however, due to racism. If your owner's a racist, you can probably taste it in the pies more often than not, and that certainly has to factor into my decisions. If I can't eat your pizza with a clear conscience, then what's the point of even going? Number 2, Little Caesars Pizza. Little Caesars is fan-flippin-tastic. Little Caesars has their $5 hot and ready pizza. What an option it is. Every time I go to get it, you know what, here's a little strategy for you. If you're going to Little Caesars, go right around the turning of the hour, because I believe that I've figured out their system of they make pizzas every hour that are ready for pickup. Usually by demand, they'll make more around, dinner time or lunchtime. Go right around the turn of the hour. And if you're ever told, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to make the pizza, are you willing to wait 5 minutes? Absolutely wait the 5 minutes for Little Caesars, because when it's hot and right out of the oven, Little Caesars pizza is by far one of the best I'll ever eat. You might think that's crazy of me, but it's really not. It's a convenient timing. There's no delivery, but just drive to the pizza place. It's never that bad that you need to get it delivered. That could be me talking out of context, but who knows. For $5, it's so convenient. Here's the problem. I want to say it's reliable, but it really isn't. If you ever get a Little Caesars and it's been sitting out for a while, maybe a half hour, maybe a little bit more, run. Go back in and ask for a fresh one. I'm not brave enough to do it, but I imagine that my listeners are. When Little Caesars has sat out for a while and you buy it, it's not that great of pizza. It'll more often than not lead to you getting a kind of sick feeling as you eat it. It's uncomfortable. The cheese doesn't melt as well in your mouth. You kind of get this weird crunch when you bite into the cheese when it's been out for too long. It's all around a bad time, and I know they need to sell their product and their inventory, but at what cost, damn it? More so than that, Little Caesars does hit the nail on the mark every time. Not every time, but more often than not. Excuse me. Little Caesars is great. It's deserving of the 2 spot because of the quality that you can get. However, number 1 gets its mark because of the quality that you will get. It's reliable, it's convenient, and it's fairly well lower in price. It's probably half the price of Papa John's pizzas. It's Domino's. The Domino's by my house in specific is fantastic. It's some of my favorite pizza I've ever had, and that's not hyperbole. It's very cheap. There's almost always a carry-out deal for $7.99 or $6.99, and that's just an excellent deal for me because I don't really drink, so I'm never impaired to the point where I need to call delivery unless I'm with somebody that's... Honestly, even if I'm with somebody, I'd rather just go and pick it up. Domino's is great. When they changed it up and added garlic to their crust, I nearly chummed. It was so flipping good. It's something new. I had never had garlic buttery crust like that. And it isn't the garlic buttery blend like Pizza Hut where they just drizzle it onto the crust. It's almost like it infuses itself within the crust. I know it's added after baking, as far as I know. But it just works so well, and it works its way into the crust, and it really becomes a part of the pizza. Domino's is by far my favorite, and it should be a favorite of everybody. So congratulations to Domino's Pizza. They're officially the greatest pizza chain of all the U.S. nationally franchised pizzas. That's because this list only matters because it's my opinion, and it's not anybody else's. If it were, say, Obama's opinion, it'd be taken into consideration, but it isn't. And therefore, I have to step up and take the quality. Now, real quick, I want to end off this podcast with ranking the Chicago franchises from best to worst. This is, you know what? I don't want to switch it up. I want to keep it going from worst to best. Excuse me. Let's strip that from the record. Let's Let's take those 6 minutes out of my presidential daily briefing. You guys remember Watergate? Anyways, historical puns aside, was that a pun or a reference? Chicago franchises from number 5, Nancy's. I believe Nancy's created the first deep dish, although I could be wrong. I've heard Illuminati's created the first deep dish, or Giordano's did. Nancy's, I believe, says that they created the first, thick crust Chicago pie. It's not worth it. Don't get Nancy's. It's expensive. You need a coupon to make it even feasible. And even then, their thinner pizza isn't that great. I've never... Ooh, you guys ready for a hot take? I've never had Chicago-style pizza. That, deep dish where it's, marinara drenched on top and all that. Nah, I never had it. I don't know, I'm just not a fan. Give me a thick slice of bread with some nice, mozzarella, and put some great tomato sauce in between, some marinara. Do whatever you need to, add whatever you want to it, but that shouldn't really be screwed with too much. That formula, that category. And I feel like deep dish pizza really is its own delicacy. It's not really even pizza. It's just a strange marinara soup in between some bread. That's going to really upset a lot of listeners. You know what? When Jimmy comes back, I'll have him rank his favorite deep dish pizza places, and that might be able to satisfy the stomachs of our listeners, because I'm sure I turned a lot of heads with that hot take. Number 4, Home Run Inn Pizza, the franchise, not the, it's good. It's all right. It's much better than its frozen pizza. I've never had a bad experience with it. The sauce is well done. It's a little bit tangy. It's kind of sweet. Cheese is fantastic. Home Run Inn always knocks it out of the park with their cheese. It's never burnt. Or it's never too well done, I should say. I don't think I've ever had a burnt pizza from any of these places. It's fantastic. You can't really go wrong. Overall, though, there are better. Illuminati's is at 3rd. I know that's going to turn a lot of heads, because a lot of people assume that Illuminati's is the quintessential Chicago-style pizza. That's just their marketing. I guess they trademarked that or something, but Illuminati's isn't that great. It's really expensive. Its thinner crust is kind of gross. That cracker crust, I don't know. It's better than Home Run Inn, but for its price, it's not. For cost effectiveness, you'd be better just eating Domino's. In fact, for most of these last 3, just get Domino's instead, or Little Caesars. Let's just move on to number 2. Illuminati's is overrated. Let's just move on to number 2. Gino's East. You can draw on the walls. That's pretty cool. Gino's East is really good. I kind of wish they would have had a further reach with their franchise, because I really feel like they could be a very highly grossing. I don't know, what am I talking? I don't know their business earnings, but Gino's East is fantastic. I wish they had a further reach, but that's their options. Gino's East never fails. Their crust is fantastic. Their cheese is amazing. There's not a lot that goes wrong with Gino's East, except for the wait time can be a little bit long. At least in my opinion. I always go to the one in downtown Chicago, and it can be upwards of 30 minutes to 45 minutes to get a pie, which seems pretty normal for if you're getting a lot of pies, but for one pie, that's a bit much. Keep in mind though, I was going around. Oh man, I waited 45 minutes and I went at 2 p.m. So keep that in mind. Number 1, Giordano's. That's pretty easy. Giordano's is fantastic. I've never had a bad slice of pizza from Giordano's. Even the corners on a party-style cut pizza are fantastic. Giordano's never fails to completely wow me. Giordano's is the quintessential Chicago-style pizza, and that's because I said so. Just kidding. it's because of what they do. It's because of the hard work that they put into it. Service is always great at Giordano's, but I'm not factoring that into the pizza itself. That's just an added little bonus. Deep dish, I've never had it, but Giordano's looks great, so you can take that. I will get Jimmy in to do his taking of the best deep dish pizzas in the Chicagoland area, but let's return to the art, why don't we? I'm going to let those thoughts simmer. If you have any objections, be sure to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll take it to heart, and I'll really be hurt by what you say. As for the art, I'm finishing up the final touches of this piece. It's been a little bit of a drudge to get through the silhouettes in the back. You couldn't hear it, but I can recreate the sounds of my shading in for the silhouettes. It was something like this. That's good stuff right there. Anyways, this piece is almost complete. I'm going to add my John Hancock here to the bottom in just a sec. Listen for this. And there we go. I'm going to have a pic taken of this, and then you'll be able to see it sometime this upcoming week. We're going to shoot for a release on Wednesday night, just before bedtime. But anyways, this has been a very controversial episode of the BedTime Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I've been your sidekick / host, Ryan McCarthy, and hopefully you're in bed before all the hot takes really came in. I got controversial there. But anyways, we'll see you when you turn this off in the morning. Good night.